Today, I'm going to talk about what I'm doing, how I'm going to go about rebuilding my pretty dead eBay store. Now, if you did not see the video where I talked about the crash and burn of my eBay store, I will link it up here because I'm not going to get into all of that today. Let's just sum it up by saying we worked really hard all summer and got to the point where I was very happy. We were selling $5,000 worth of items in the month of August. And then, dramatic pause, it fell off a cliff. So what am I doing since then to get things back on track? Phase one, when things started to take a nosedive, I shut down my eBay store. Now, part of that was planned. As I mentioned in a previous video, I had a planned trip to Ontario to travel, help out my mom after her knee surgery. So I already knew that my store was going to be closed for 3 weeks. You can't just put your store sort of on vacation mode and let people buy things when you're actually going to be away that long, because of course you're not going to ship anything until you're back, at least in my case. So it was actually closed for business. Now, when I got back, middle of October, as you saw in my video where I expressed all the frustrations about all these missing packages and returned items and outstanding refunds and calls to eBay daily, calls to UPS, you name it. That's all I'm going to say about that. You'll understand perhaps why, when I got back, I was not ready to open my store back up. So I actually left it closed down, completely shut off, can't even buy anything, for an additional 3 weeks. That was because there was still a lot of uncertainty for me personally about where I was going to go from here. During that 3 weeks, I had, of course, a lot of time to think and reflect and hear great comments from so many of you viewers who watched those videos about what you've done if you're another Canadian or international seller outside of the US, what you've seen, what you've witnessed, what you've experienced, and started to formulate a plan. Step one, this is a kind of a biggie. I had to go in and add the country of origin to most of my 1,200 plus listings. Now, let me tell you why. This would be something that I now, with hindsight, would consider a mistake. When I started listing items, if they were made in China, I didn't bother putting that in. I didn't know there was any reason that I really needed to. And no offense to any of my viewers who may be watching me from China, but generally the made in China sticker is not necessarily, I will say, a selling feature as compared to, let's just say, made in Canada, made in the United States, made in the UK, made in France, made in Germany, made in Australia, you name it. Those tend to be a little bit more, let's say, desirable in terms of a different quality of goods. Not generalizing all goods. There are many wonderful things made in China, but generally, I had made a decision. I was not putting that in my listings. Now, when Nathan started at the beginning of summer, beginning of May, I instructed him to do the same. So consequently, unless there was, let's call it a desirable country of manufacture, it wasn't being put in the listings, even if we knew from a tag or otherwise what that country was. Now, you might be wondering, well, if you shut your store off, why do you need the country of origin if you're not planning to ship to the US? Well, that's not necessarily been decided. So one thing I learned when I came back and even heard messages from some of you out there who are watching is, of course, eBay had started rolling out the international shipping program for Canadian sellers, so on the ebay.ca site, in October. I didn't get an email. Well, why would I? My store was shut down. I'm not going to be their first priority of who they're going to be putting onto that particular program as they're gradually rolling it out. So I knew, even though I had not made and have not made any final decisions about whether and when I will continue to sell to the US, without the country of origin, that's not even an option for me. that information must be in the listing in order to sell an item through the international shipping program, and therefore eBay will deal with wherever the buyer is, any tariffs that may apply based on that country of manufacture of the item. So it took me, felt like forever. I think reality, it probably took me about 4 days. I was able to sometimes just scroll through the photos of a listing. Remember, I've got over 1,200 items. Was I going into where I've got all my inventory and pulling out each item? Of course not. And as many of you would know, a lot of them don't have a marking on them anyway. It was a tag that's been cut off or a sticker that's been removed or whatever. So when I could see a tag or any kind of a marking that showed the country of origin in the photos, of course, that was easy. Pop it in, move to the next. But for many of them, a majority, and again, this is the ones that didn't have it. I'm sure there were out of 1,200, maybe a few hundred, 200, maybe 300 that did have a country of origin because they are made in the US or made in France or made in Italy or made in the UK or whatever. But for all the rest of them, I had to do research. So Google and AI became my very best friends in that forever feeling 4-day period when I individually looked up hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of items to add the country of origin into my listing. Got that done. So next up, before I was ready to even consider reopening my eBay store, so this is in that 3-week window when it was shut down after I got back into town, I needed to, for the time being anyway, remove all US shipping. So I had to go into my eBay seller business policies and remove all US shipping, and just for the moment anyway, limit it to domestic because that's where my comfort level is at the moment. So had to go in and do that. Next up, I really appreciate so many of you who've left me some comments in other videos about the eBay International Shipping Program here in Canada for Canadian sellers. But I needed to do a little bit more research on my own. Still need to do more if I'm being honest, but I needed to get a comfort level of, is this something I could see myself doing? And early indications, I would say yes. I'm more of a risk-taking kind of a person, not terribly risk-averse, so willing to try it until it bites me in the butt, and then I would shut it off. Just like kind of what happened in September. I thought I'll try selling to the US after the tariff change. Well, that came around and bit me, so clearly I shut that off after that happened. So when all of that was done, I went ahead just a few days ago, I think 2 days ago, and turned my eBay store back on. Now, you might wonder what's been happening to these 1,200 listings in the background while my store was shut down for 6 weeks, month and a half. Well, they renew. Listings on eBay, if you're not familiar with this, they actually renew every 30 days. So it's something that eBay automatically does in the background. If you're an expert out there, please feel free to chime in because I'm not. I don't know exactly what it means, but it just renews it. It keeps that listing alive, I guess you would say, for another 30 days. Well, what was happening? I mean, what the heck? I had my store closed for a month and a half. Is all the stuff that got listed in the summer and right up to the end of August when Nathan left. Well, here we are now in early November. All those listings were a minimum of 60 days old, many of them 90 up to 120 days old. So 2, 3, 4 months old, which in eBay terminology, in the world of selling on eBay, means stale listings. Stale listings, I won't say they will never sell, because sometimes obscure things sell that I've had listed feels like forever. But generally speaking, your newer listings are the ones that tend to get a little more attention, they tend to get more views, and therefore have a much higher chance of being sold. So what does that mean? Well, I turned my store on. So at least people could buy things if they happened to stumble across one of my items when searching for something on eBay. What I also started doing, again, about 3 to 4 days ago, is end listing and sell similar. So right now, I've already got 1,200 plus, 1,250 or something listings that are in the store and haven't sold. I'm not feeling particularly motivated or inclined right now, especially in this era of uncertainty around how many sales am I even going to make, limiting myself at this moment to the Canadian market. So I thought, I'm not going to get all worked up about listing brand new items when I have 1,250 stale dated listings in my store. So every day you can filter on your store and see which listings are ending soonest, meaning they're going to just automatically renew within the eBay platform. I was catching those, ending that listing, and saying sell similar, keep the photos, maybe make some tweaks to the title, to the pricing, clean up the description a little bit, whatever it might be, and put up a brand new listing. So I've been working on that. This will be something that over the course of a month, as each of these keep renewing every day, I'll be able to, let's say, refresh a lot of these items. Now, what else has happened in the meantime is I finally turned my attention back to my Facebook Marketplace listings. I have truthfully been ignoring them. Haven't paid them one stitch of attention for a couple of months at least, probably more like 3 or 4, because as you all know, up till September, my focus was eBay. Anyway, I thought, I've got all these listings, like there was probably 100 or so, I think 107 items listed on Marketplace for sale that have been there for ages, many of them. Some I added after my summer garage sale, and if you didn't see those 2 videos, I'll link one of them up here and you can check out what happened with the garage sale. I decided to do the same thing on Marketplace as I'm basically doing on eBay, which is refresh those old stale dated listings. So Marketplace, if you have sold on it before, you know. If you don't, then you have an option to renew some listings. So it automatically puts some sort of a time clock on them. So I had, I don't know how many, probably 50 or 60 that I could just renew. And then there was another 20 in the delete and relist bucket on Marketplace, which I just went ahead and did. And wouldn't you know it, I actually made a couple of sales. So over the past week, I've sold this necklace, vintage necklace, sort of a choker from Japan, really pretty. I have had this thing for coming up on 2 years. It's been listed on Marketplace for almost 2 years. All of a sudden, I refreshed this listing and it sells. $15, hooray. Also this week, the weather has turned cooler here in Canada, at least most of the country, probably all of the country. And I sold a dog sweater, super cute, I must say. Brand new with tags, something I actually bought at Winners, which is like a TJ Maxx or Marshalls or Ross kind of a store here in Canada. And I did a little retail arbitrage, again, eons ago, and managed to flip one of those and sell that to someone here locally. The most exciting sale that I made though, and this sort of came up while I was in Ontario on Marketplace. I was messaging back and forth with a potential buyer, thinking, you know how it is with Facebook Marketplace. If you've ever sold on there, don't count your chickens until they're hatched, right? You never know, people flake on you, they don't show, they could be scammers, you never know. So I was a little bit excited, but kind of hedging my bets until I actually got back. Sure enough, I had told this potential buyer when I was going to be back. They messaged me the first day I was back. Hey, are you around? Can we come and see the desk? So I'm going to link here to the video where I found this desk or talked about this desk. And can you believe, yes, this beautiful mid-century modern desk, solid wood, beautiful, cane back, gorgeous, original hardware, original everything. I paid $25 at the Goodwill bins, And yes, folks, I sold it on Facebook Marketplace for $550. No selling fees like you would have on eBay. So, yay. That was worth cheering for. The other thing I did when I got back was just, honestly, was in a bit of a funk. This happens to me. Does this happen to you? Let me know in the comments. When you go on a vacation or you've traveled and you come back home and I guess you're getting back to normal, do you ever go into a little bit of a funk? I do, and I'm sure it was probably intensified this time because of everything that was going on with my business. Anyhow, I needed to update my spreadsheet. I had made a couple of sales, even some of the stuff that had happened earlier in September. I was just kind of ignoring the whole thing. Being a bit like, what do you call that? Is that an ostrich where you put your head in the sand, pretend it's not happening? I was doing a little bit of that, I guess. Anyway, updated my spreadsheet. So all of these things is what has been going on. Now, what I want to talk about next and what I want to leave you with today is, where do I go from here? What am I going to do next? So one of the reasons why I said I was in a funk is because I still, to this day, as I record this on November the 6th, I still have outstanding refunds, missing packages, customer issues on eBay with these tariff refused deliveries from the beginning of September. So it is a full on 2 months that this has been going on. So I need to make a decision, and I've really been thinking about this the last couple of days. Do I keep calling UPS? Do I fill out crazy claim forms and spend all kinds of hours digging up and providing proof of the value of the items and this, that, and the other thing that they are asking me for? Or do I just say enough already? My mental well-being, my sanity is worth more than whatever dollars we are talking here. And do I just go ahead and refund these buyers? It's not, I mean, they did refuse the package, so I will say, I do think there's fault there, but I don't want bad feedback on my eBay store. I've said that before. And just to clear my own mind and kind of know that there's nothing on me. Nobody can ever come back on me about these situations. I am contemplating just issuing a refund to these various buyers for the purchase price, not the shipping or anything else, but at least the purchase price. Tell me in the comments, do you think that I should do that? Or do you think that I should still keep fighting the good fight and trying to figure out where these packages are and get reimbursed if I'm not getting these items back and so on and so forth? What do you think I should do? Anyway, that's one. I got to resolve that one way or the other, because having this thing hanging over your head for 2 months, nobody wants that. Number two, I got to come clean here. I have a few thrift trips that I have not inventoried and put in my precious spreadsheet yet. Dismay. Yes, I'm being honest here, not trying to sugarcoat things and pretend they are like they're not. Yes, in September when Nathan left and I had about a week before I went to Hawaii, I recorded a couple of thrifting trips, just to get a couple of videos up on YouTube. And then in between, when I came back, I had a week before I went to Ontario and I wanted to get a few more videos done. So did a few little thrift trips, which I love doing at any time, but I did not follow through and actually inventory those items into my spreadsheet. So yes, hand slap. I need to go and get that done. What else do I need to do? Stay out of thrift stores. You've all been telling me, I know. You're not telling me something I don't know. And I'm happy to report I have not been in a thrift store for over 2 months. So those ones that I talked about in September that I just need to inventory, those are the last time I've been in a thrift store. As tempting as it's been today, literally, I was at Costco picking up a couple of things. My favorite thrift store is about less than a mile from Costco, and didn't do it. I resisted. So I'm building up my resistance muscle to wanting to go thrifting. And yesterday was the 50% off day at the Wins, where I've had great success and found amazing items because they have even better pricing than Goodwill. Didn't go. Talked myself out of it. So we're making some progress here, people. But staying out of thrift stores, that is another thing I definitely need to do moving forward. I need to work on my backlog. I have, a big death pile still. You'll see it. And finally, I'm going to come clean that my house is not clean. My house is a mess. I'm not going to call it a hoarder house. It's not that bad, but there's stuff everywhere. Again, when Nathan left, and I'm not saying any of this is Nathan's fault, by no means, but when you have a full-time employee that you're keeping busy for 16 weeks, you got to make sure you got a lot of items in the house and, constantly sort of filling the pipeline of stuff for him to do. So consequently, we moved a bunch of stuff from the storage unit into the house. And then for many different reasons, there was just too many items. A bunch of it didn't get listed. So it's sitting in totes in my dining room, in clothing racks in my basement, in piles in my garage. And then we also had a garage sale. And while we made $410, awesome, I had hundreds of items that did not sell, that came back into the garage, that just need to be dealt with once and for all. So I am going to be showing you every step on my journey to revamping, restarting, resuscitating my eBay store, cleaning and organizing my house, and along with it, of course, my business. That's the reason the house is in the state that it's in. And I'm going to show you everything that happens along the way. So things are looking up. Here's some other fun little good news. I turned my store on, like I told you, 2 days ago, and I made a sale today. Very small, just a small little item. I'll throw it up here. 2 little brass turtle ashtrays, vintage, super cute. But yeah, pretty happy. Turned it on 2 days ago, and I have a sale from a Canadian buyer. So things are looking up. As soon as I get enrolled in that eBay international shipping program, I will let you know, and then the floodgates are open. The world is my oyster. Anyway, thank you, as always, for watching. Love to hear in the comments if you agree, disagree, are surprised by any of the things I've done or not done. And stay tuned, because I'll be coming at you as I work through my process of, am I going to go from being a maximalist to a minimalist? Stay tuned and find out. Bye.